What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, we need to talk about the kicker situation because everyone knows the Indianapolis Colts, they're without Spencer Shrader. We got to figure out a kicking situation. But before we do that, just want to say this episode is sponsored by FanDuel. Guys, the Colts right now are a 6.5-point favorite over the Arizona Cardinals at home. Cody, we were right at about that against the Raiders. That we actually moved up to a 7-point favorite right before kickoff. Feels almost like a slap in the face to the Indianapolis Colts, does it not? I mean, do people really think the Cardinals are going to keep it within one score of Indianapolis?
I understand that. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But also, Arizona, as dumb of a football team as they are, they do have more talent, I think, than the Raiders do, all in all. So I understand, I guess, that. But also, like I said, they showed on Sunday they're an extremely dumb football team. I mean, they really are. So I'm okay with it, to be honest with you. But I do think they're going to cover that spread, especially now with – we'll see on Kyler Murray. I know he got a little bit banged up in that game Sunday against Tennessee. So, even if he does play, he's going to probably be not full strength. So, yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued about that. But, yeah, I understand what you're saying about that as well, though, because you just lost to the worst team in the NFL, the Tennessee Titans. You think that they would give us even a 7.5-point spread, just something over one score?
Yeah, is it not even like worthy of a potential 9.5? Like, I know that sounds disrespectful, but then again, the Indianapolis Colts have literally beaten every team that doesn't have a winning record by, what is it now? Like, we've beaten them by double digits every single time that we play somebody that's not played good, and Arizona's not played good so far this year.
Right. Exactly. So, but like we said, there is talent on this Arizona squad. I mean, they do have some really talented receivers, especially, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride. So they have some talent, I would say more than the Raiders do in that sense. Although the Raiders obviously did have Ashton Genty and they have Brock Bowers when he's healthy. So I don't know. It's interesting to see the spread where it is right now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, again, guys, if you think the Indianapolis Colts are going to win by double digits again, go over to FanDuel right now and smash that bet right now. But shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring. Anyways, guys, we have to talk about this. So if any of you didn't already hear, Spencer Shrader is out for the season with a knee injury. That was the worst news we could possibly hear from Spencer Shrader. Was hit on a kick in for a PAT, and odds are that player is likely going to get fined for an egregious play on a point attempt. Like, I mean, it was so stupid that you would go to the extent of hurting our kicker for a PAT. Is absolutely ridiculous. And now we were without a kicker for the remainder of that game. Thankfully, it did not matter in the end. But now the Indianapolis Colts, Cody, they lose the quote-unquote best kicker in the NFL so far this year. Spencer Shrader was perfect on his PATs, 10 of 11 on kicks so far this year. Actually, outside of Joey Sly, probably was number 2 in points scored by a kicker this year so far. So, I mean, he was very valuable. And now the Indianapolis Colts have to play the kicker roulette game again to try to find somebody that can, cover that place, even if it's just even remotely close to what Shrader was able to do. I know you got a bunch of names. Why don't you start listing a bunch of those guys that you think the Colts should be looking to sign this week?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of go down the list here of some free agent kickers. One that Colts fans will know pretty well, Michael Badgley. He hasn't played since 2023, so that definitely is a factor for sure. But in his last full season back in 2022, he was 24 of 28 on his field goals, perfect on his extra points. So he could be a guy, but I might hesitate a little bit just because he hasn't played in a couple years here. So he would be one name. Moving down the list here. So really, Derek, the next two guys are guys that honestly kind of had forgettable 2024s. You have Dustin Hopkins, you have Young Ho Ko as well. Both guys that really struggled in 2024 kicking. And, I know Ko obviously was with the Falcons earlier, got released. So he's kicked this year. But both guys that definitely, if you're looking at all the kicker options, they may not be your top choices here.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt that these guys are definitely some guys that have had their struggles lately. And I think that is something the Colts may want to try to avoid. I don't know if I would love to see Ko out here or Hopkins, who, again, like you said, the last time that they were on a field, struggled mightily. I feel that there are some other names on here that, can be a little bit more reliable. And, honestly, Cody, like you're going to be in a situation too for the Indianapolis Colts. They're not going to be asking their kickers to kick these 50-plus yard field goals a lot of the times. Most of the time you're going to get some kickers. You're going to be asking your kickers to probably kick anywhere between 30 yards and 45. That's typically where the Indianapolis Colts typically range at when it comes to their field goal ranges most of the time. So, it definitely will be a decent situation for any kicker that comes in, but you're right. With Hopkins and Ko right now, it's just kind of hard to rely upon them knowing what we know from the last time that they were on the football field.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at a couple other guys here, Derek, some guys that are a little bit older here. Greg Joseph, a kicker. He was most recently with the New York Jets in 2024, but has kind of been around the league, has had different teams. And honestly, Derek, in 2024, his time, Derek, with the New York Giants, I thought he was fairly good. 13-16. His time with Washington, he was 2 of 3. And then his time with New York, he was 1 of 1. So in total, Derek, he was 16 of 20 kicking. So about 80% there. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't mind a Greg Joseph. He's been around the league, like I said. He had 3 different teams he played for last year. So obviously his services were needed. So he could be a guy that comes in and is kind of a spot guy there if you need him. He's not too old. He's only 31 years old. And then, of course, you talk about a guy like Matt Prater, who has been in the league for a long time, Derek, and just continues to be fairly consistent, all things considered. Already this year with the Buffalo Bills, he's 10 of 11 kicking. So both these kickers fairly accurate the last time that they've had opportunities to kick the football. What are your thoughts on both Greg Joseph and Matt Prater here?
Yeah, Joseph kind of in the same similar scenario as to what Shrader was, the last year, where just going from one spot to this spot to this spot to this spot. It just kind of just felt like he was going all over the place. And it might be nice for him to, have, one singular spot for, more than half a season to kind of get him his feet under him. And you're right, for Matt Prater, who's 41 years old, ladies and gentlemen, 41. He's been in the league 18 years. There's people that watch this podcast that are not older than Matt Prater has been in the NFL. So, that's what's the crazy part of this. And you're right. Like the last 5 years, Cody, he's been over 80% kicking every single year. And obviously this year had been signed on for the Bills with Tyler Bass being on the IR to start the year. And so he had to be called up and into this. So obviously now that his services no longer really needed much there, I would love to see Prater in Indianapolis if we could, because again, I don't really care about his age. We've seen Vinatieri. We know how kickers can stay that way forever. But again, the Colts are going to put him in good situations, and he's going to be kicking inside of a dome most of the time anyway. So I'm not too worried about Prater. If you could kick the way he has the last couple years, I'd be more than happy to have Prater here now.
Yeah, no doubt. You're right. Matt Prater has been one of the more accurate kickers the last couple of years. He has been really, really accurate. Derek, in total, in the last, 4 or 5 years, he's kicked 81% or above every single year. So that is darn impressive in itself there. And you're right. He's one of those guys that's been around the league for a long time, and so he seems like one of those guys like a Vinatieri where nothing really bothers him at this point. He's not going to get, you're not going to ice him. He's the type of guy that's got ice in his veins in a lot of ways. And if you're the Indianapolis Colts looking to make a playoff push, potentially, who knows, the Super Bowl push, you need a kicker when you're going to go into Buffalo, when you're going to go in to some of these other teams you're going to be playing. If you have to, in hostile environments, you're going to need a reliable kicker, right? So, yeah, Prater would certainly be a guy that if I'm the Indianapolis Colts, I'm certainly on the phone with him. I'd love to see him be an option there. Derek, another guy that we can talk about when it comes to this for the Indianapolis Colts. Like I said, there's so many different kickers that you can talk about, but Eddie Pinheiro is another name that you can talk about here when you look at the kickers. 30 years old, previously with the Carolina Panthers. And when you look at him overall, Derek, he was another guy that, had to step in early in the season. He was with the 49ers, and he was a perfect 11 of 11 so far. He did miss an extra point, which is kind of interesting there. But when it comes to the actual field goals, he was perfect for the San Francisco 49ers earlier this year. So what would be your thoughts here on a player like Eddie Pinheiro, who's a lot younger than, say, a Matt Prater, but also showed not just this year, but in the past, he's been fairly accurate as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because, his entire career has never been under 82% as a field goal kicker. So, I mean, this is a guy that has continued to do a lot of great things and has been accurate, throughout his entire career. So I love that. Just never want to see a big drop in the overall kicking numbers, and I don't really see that with him. He did have a little bit of a drop in his 3 years through Carolina. He did make 94% of his kicks in 2022. Then it dropped to 86. Then it dropped to 85. But it's not a huge drop off over the last few years. And as you said, 100% this year so far from the kicks that he has made with the 49ers earlier this year. So again, I would not complain at all. I would love to see Eddie Pinheiro in here as well, because you're seeing the consistency from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have one more guy here, Derek. It's not actually the guy that we have on our list here, but another guy I want to toss out here, Austin Seibert. The kicker was recently with the Washington Commanders last year and was 27 of 30 kicking, Derek. So very accurate. And in fact, Derek, when he's gotten opportunities to kick in an extended role, he's kicked back in 2019 was the one time he got to kick 29 times. He was 86% there. And then last year was 90% on his field goals. So just another reliable kicker that you can rely upon. And also when you look at him, Derek, he's the youngest of anybody we've talked about. He's only 28 years old. So what would be your thoughts there on the Colts going and taking a chance on a guy like Seibert, who was really, really solid with the Commanders a year ago?
Yeah, again, I just don't want to see a big drop-off when it comes to my kickers. So as long as there's been no big drop-off as of recently, that's not what the Colts need right now. They need a guy that can be plugged in, and he's going to remain consistent. Again, I don't need him to kick 95 to 100% of the field goals made. I know that's not realistic, but I need him to be able to make the ones that are within range and just be able to handle that kind of pressure for them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really think when you look at it, those are some of the main kickers that you'd look at. I mean, you can throw out Zane Gonzalez as well. That's another name I know some people have thrown around there. He's had some action. I know he didn't do a ton last year kicking wise, but just when you look at him, he was also with the Washington Commanders as well last year. And, when you look at it, Derek, he only attempted 7 field goals. He made 5 of them. But the previous season with the Carolina Panthers, he was also right around a little bit over that 90% mark as well. So he's shown in the past that he can be fairly accurate too. So there's a lot of good kickers. All I have to say, there's still a lot of good kickers on the market. So while it obviously sucks and we wish Spencer Shrader the best moving forward and that he can have a full recovery and, can be back kicking next year, I think if you're looking for a silver lining, it's that there are some reliable kickers out there if you're the Indianapolis Colts that have proven to be reliable in the past. So there's a lot of options, and Shane Steichen said the Colts are going to take the next 24 hours, work out some kickers. So maybe we'll see some of these kickers in here for some competition. The Colts will pick whoever they believe gives them the best chance here, Derek. But any last thoughts you have on the kickers?
No, again, the Colts obviously need to get one this week. I certainly hope that they'll find somebody that, is going to be able to pick up right where Shrader left off. I know that's going to be difficult to do, but hopefully the Colts will be able to figure it out and it won't cost us anything during the season.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't need this crazy, you don't need to be even a top 5 kicker in the NFL. You just need a reliable kicker. Essentially, Derek, you just make what you've had in the past whenever your kicking situation's gone off the rails, right? Like, you need a Chase McLaughlin type of guy that can just come in and make the kicks. Maybe he's not going to be perfect, but he can be reliable enough where you feel like, okay, we feel good about our kicker where it's not going to be a Matt Gay of last year or a Rodrigo Blankenship of 2022. It's not outwardly losing you games, right? So, and I'll also be curious, Derek, if, the guys that they bring in also have experience with kicking it off, because that's something that obviously Shrader did, and you had Rigoberto doing that, or if that's really not a big deal for them. I guess we'll just have to see on that. But yeah, I think that'll do it for this one, guys. Again, shout out to FanDuel. Really do appreciate them for their sponsorship in the entirety of the 2025 season. But let us know your thoughts on which kicker you'd like to see the Indianapolis Colts bring in. But again, guys, that'll do it for this one. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Colts.